Guys, it was a domestic chart for the weekend. And Uncharted is the number one movie. Again, defying the Rotten Tomatoes establishment. What a surprise! Another movie defying Rotten Tomatoes. It seems each passing year, Rotten Tomatoes low numbers for movies does not really impact the box office anymore as people think it would. It's really the people who impact it. What a surprise. The critics are not impacting the box office again. Again, a lot of movies with low Rotten Tomatoes score do make money, but people tend to say, oh, but they make less money on average. But Uncharted is doing similar to Ghostbusters Afterlife at the domestic box office. Really wait to see how well it does ratings-wise, but considering it opened with 15 million on Friday and it ended with 44 million, which is actually above Dune's opening. And yes, I don't think Uncharted is going to be considered a cinematic masterpiece. But the fact that we have a movie that's actually doing well in this month, when, I expected every movie to bomb at the box office, can really all tell you something. And the movie is on its way to become a box office success, which I think nobody would have predicted. Even I said the movie would flop, because I constantly said that Tom Holland was miscast in the movie, even though I never played Uncharted, because you see the guy on the cover of Uncharted, it's always like a 30-year-old guy, basically, not a teenager, even though Tom Holland's 25, so it's kind of a real offense to Tom Holland, but, again, sometimes it proves that sometimes stars can sell movies, even though, Uncharted is actually a franchise because it's a video game series. It's based off a video game. And a lot of people like the movie, which is something that Rotten Tomatoes does not accept. A lot of people actually like the movie and say it's a good action movie. Like Godzilla King of the Monsters, which this movie is doing similar to Godzilla King of the Monsters at the box office this opening weekend. It's doing similar to Godzilla King of the Monsters opening weekend. But again, Rotten Tomatoes cannot accept that a movie that they don't like is making money. And it's going to make money, but movies like West Side Story, bomb movies, that they industry plays every day and every night, like Booksmart, don't make money at the box office. A movie that, the critics said was going to be a so hit. He said Booksmart was going to be a so hit and will be remembered by everybody. Nobody cares about Booksmart anymore. A movie that completely bombed and flopped at the box office that literally no one cares about. It can compare Uncharted to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Which again, the critics try to do everything in their power to get the make sure this movie had a lower score than Lady Ghostbusters. And it earned with 128 million. And if this movie performs like Afterlife, it might end up with $128 million at the box office. So either way, the critics lost. The Rotten Tomatoes establishment has to take yet another L at the box office. They have to take yet another L at the box office. But still, a lot of people still trust the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, but that trust is waning day by day by day. Of course, not every movie is going to recuperate the costs it made to make that movie. Like Midway, it opened against Frozen 2. But again, Disney fanboys are going to go watch Frozen 2 regardless. And also opened against Charlie's Angels, even though they expected Charlie's Angels to become the number one movie of the week, and it became the worst selling movie of the week, doing worse than Playing with Fire, or whatever the movie was called. It did worse than that movie. It did worse than I think Last Christmas. That was a different weekend, the week that Midway came out. Charlie's Angels came out the week afterwards with Ford v. Ferrari, and even then, that movie still did worse than all the movies previous week, and on that week as well. Well, it was Last Christmas that was projected to be number one, but Midway became the number one movie of the weekend, which shocked everybody, and the movie actually overperformed despite losing money. But Uncharted is going to make money, which is something that the Rotten Tomatoes establishment is not going to like, which is something the mainstream media is not going to like as well. Because when a movie they don't like makes money, they'll call and they'll basically say, if you like this movie, you're racist and sexist, or you ruin the artist's vision, which is the case of Sonic. they would constantly talk about how Sonic the Hedgehog ruined the artist's vision and ruined, you know, they ruined the artist's vision. Or they talk about how anyone who liked the Alita Battle Angel was a sexist and a racist because they sided with the fandom because they liked the movie and the fandom fans liked the movie, therefore they're racist and sexist, which is basically the typical lumping the mainstream media will do. Anyone who was a fan of Alita, they were basically lumped with the fandom menace as well, which many parts of the Alita fan base tries to distance themselves from the event, try to distance themselves and apologize for the fandom menace. But even then, the mainstream media doesn't give a shit because the mainstream media would like to promote Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, which again, that movie still ended up making $1 billion because of Endgame, not because Brie Larson's such a great actress. No, it's because of Endgame, not because of how great Brie Larson is. And 2022 and 2021 will show this the most. The movies that the mainstream media continues to promote, like West Side Story and movies like that, Matrix Resurrections, no one's going to be watching because nobody's going to give a shit about these movies. But it seems that normal people, not just the fandom mess, are getting sick of the Rotten Tomatoes establishment. And Uncharted perfectly shows that. And Dog, as I predicted, opened with 15 million. So, Dog, which I don't know we don't know the budget for Dog. Okay. I'm assuming Dog is a low budget movie. The budget is 15 million. Yep. 15 million budget. So that means Dog will be the fourth box office success of the year. Yep. The movie opened with 15 million, and typically with a 2x multiplier, Dog will likely end up over 30 million domestically. Which means this movie will be a box office success. Success at the box office, of course, is not even including international totals and stuff like that. So even then, if this movie passes $40 million, this movie is a success. So it is the fourth box office success of the year. We're joining both Scream, Uncharted, and Jackass Forever as box office successes. This. So next is Spider-Man No Way Home, which got a boost from Uncharted. It made $770 million domestically, which this movie actually beat Avatar's total domestic total. So Spider-Man made that much money. And yeah. Next is Death on the Nile. Death on the Nile did make more money this weekend, $74 million worldwide. So this movie did better, but still a box office failure. It needs to make around $180 to $200 million to break even. If this movie has good ratings internationally, I think it could break even at the end, but it's unlikely. And like with Adsanto, like with, The Eternals, and of course, The Kingsmen, is going to join the rank of Disney box office failures. Of course, the difference between this movie and Adsanto, that people keep ignoring is Adsanto did really well on Disney Plus. Same thing with Black Widow. It's again, the fandom mass doesn't get that. Black Widow did not flop. Adsanto actually did lose money in the theaters, but Disney Plus technically made up for it in its overwhelmingly popularity on Disney Plus. So actually, Adsanto is not a flop because of its overwhelmingly popularity and overall massive boost in merch and merchandise sales for Adsanto, massive boost in popularity, and probably massive boost in the sales of Blu-ray, DVD, and people who actually want to financially support it outside of Disney Plus support the new IP because it's now a franchise. Which means Adsanto is a franchise movie now because they're making it to a franchise. The difference between this and the Death on the Nile is that nobody will give a shit about Death on the Nile, unlike Uncharted, because it isn't a Disney animated feature. So, another box office failure for Disney. Jackass Forever made $56 million domestically, which again, this movie broke even on its first day. So, next is Marry Me, which this movie might actually break even since its budget is only $23 million. It is around $7 million lost right now, but the international box office is breaking out for it, so this movie is going to end up over $20 million domestically and probably $30 million internationally. So that means if it does make $7 million more dollars, which it most likely will, in the next 2 weeks, this movie will become a success at the box office, become a profitable movie, and not a box office failure. Yeah. Which means it will be the second non-franchise movie to become a box office success, besides Dog. Next is Sing 2, which again, Sing 2, it's basically doing Sing 2 things. It has made $342 million, which is pretty well for a sequel. And the first Sing movie didn't really make that much money to begin with. And this movie, it did better domestically than at Santo. And again, Sing has its own fan base as well. It did half of the original, but again, it is a sequel to a movie. And sequels typically, unless it's like Terminator 2 or The Dark Knight, sequels typically tend to do worse than the originals. Even with Star Wars, the second movie in the trilogy typically does far worse than the first movie in the trilogy. Next is Scream. It's a long-running horror franchise, and this movie has pretty good legs for a movie that, was projected to be a failure according to the Phantom Menace. But $121 million worldwide for Scream. I think this will probably be one of the last weeks we talk about Scream. Next is Blacklight, which is a box office failure. Liam Neeson failure, basically. Another Liam Neeson failure. Okay. Next is Moonfall, another failure of epic proportions. This is another one. It's gonna be like 47 voted in those movies. No one watched it. No one cares. If it releases in China makes $200 million, they can say, oh yeah, this movie is not a failure. But even then, with this abysmal domestic and international gross, China's numbers wouldn't have mattered anyways because it has a $150 million budget. And also, The Curse came out, okay, which is a indie movie. But overall, we have 5 now box office successes of the year. Marry Me is going on to become a box office success. Jackass, Uncharted, and Scream are already box office successes. And Uncharted and Dog will become box office successes. So Uncharted, Dog, Marry Me, Jackass, and of course, Scream, all 2022 box office successes at the end of the day. Unless Dog has like abysmal legs, but if the budget's only $15 million, which that's what they say, and they probably spent like $10 million in marketing for the movie, this movie will be a success anyways. Because it'll probably end with like second weekend because there's no movies coming out next week basically, because there's basically nothing coming out next week. So we can have so movies can have a good week next week. But this movie is still doing pretty well. Uncharted will probably end up around $400 million at the box office, like Alita, Dune, and Sonic. So it's gonna probably perform like those movies. And that's basically it about this video. Goodbye.